Okay, welcome back to the Level Up and Live podcast, where business owners and emerging leaders come to grow without losing what matters most. I'm your host, Sean Meyers, and my mission is simple: to empower business owners to design a life they don't regret, without sacrificing health, relationships, or spirituality. We do this through the Level Up and Live mastermind, built on 5 pillars: accountability, clarity, support, guidance, and community. Today's guest is someone who helps people do just that, not just with their mindset, but with their money. Conner Halstead is a financial advisor with Edward Jones. And what I respect about him most is that he doesn't just talk about numbers. He talks about goals, values, serving people, and building a future that actually aligns with their life. Conner's a husband, father of 3, outdoorsman, and a man of faith who believes that success isn't about what you earn, it's about what you build for the people and the purpose you love most. Today, we're going to pull back the layers of Conner's story, how he got into the industry, what drives him, what he's learned about stewardship, and how entrepreneurs can build a financial foundation that matches their mission. Conner, welcome to the show, brother.
Hey.
So let's start here, man. How did you first get into the world of finance, and what's the story behind why you do what you do?
Yeah, great question. So my journey is maybe a non-traditional one into the role that I find myself in today. So I am the son of a church pastor. And growing up, that was kind of the world that I was brought up in, and a world that I was, trained and equipped in for a lot of ways. And so when I finally went off to college, I was always more interested in fun and friends maybe than in, starting a business or anything like that. So I got to college. I was an undeclared major, spending all sorts of money on a private college to not even know what I was studying. Finally kind of came time where you had to make a choice. And had a couple options, and really through a couple of experiences felt called to go into full-time ministry. And so that's what I studied. So I got a undergraduate degree in what you would call like Christian ministry, I guess, and studied that through college, graduated from college, and got a job at a local church here in the Conroe area, where I worked for 14 years, got a master's degree in theology, spent a lot of time serving in different ministries, things like that. And so you say, okay, well, none of that sounds like it's taking you in the direction of finance, right? Well, along the way, got married. We have a family of 5 now. And coming through the COVID season, there was a period of time where I was looking around and just realizing that my wife was staying home raising our young children. I was trying to work, but the finances of all of that just wasn't really working out inside our family. I needed to find a way to make some more money. And unfortunately, as much as I love the church work that I was doing, working for a nonprofit organization is not the best way to maximize dollars into your family's budget. And so through a long, kind of condensing the story down, but through a long season of prayer, discussion with my wife, honestly, hard-headedness on my part, having to kind of break down some of my own identity and things like that, just came to a season of prayer for God to give some direction. Through a conversation with a friend who was in the finance industry, he asked me what was really a simple question, but maybe it felt really like, oh, wow. In the moment, he said, what is really important to you about the job that you have? I was like, oh, I never thought about that. And I mean, there's a lot of things I could have said, but at the core, it was like I wanted to help people. I loved working with people. I loved that one-to-one personal interaction that the job I was doing had. And I didn't want to lose that. I was afraid of going and getting some job where I sat behind a desk and looked at spreadsheets all day long and didn't interact with people.
Yeah.
And so he was in the finance industry. He said, let me tell you a little bit about what I do. And he went on to tell me stories that weren't about finance. They were about, helping out an old lady who needed something, who was a client of his, and going to her house and helping her rake up the leaves. It was these stories of service. And I was like, well, that doesn't sound like, the boring. So it started me on a journey of, okay, well, that sounds pretty good. The opportunity to support my family is a little bit better in that field, but I'm not trained, equipped, or, experienced in that. Yeah. And so anyways, through a journey of praying for God to open and close doors, it allowed me the opportunity to take a leap and make a total change. And it brought me to the financial services here, where now what I've found is that a lot of the things that I loved about the ministry that I was in, I get to do now. The content is a little bit different, but a lot of the work with people is still the same. And it was something that I had some interest in also, so that helped too, right? It wasn't like something that I hated. I was interested in the world, just wasn't really trained or equipped in it at all. And so here I find myself now.
And one of the things that I love about your story, Conner, is that you go through being in ministry and you did it for a decade plus. So you learned how to stewardship, you learned how to, and then tying that to financial and finances. And that's what you're doing, helping individuals paint that picture and what they want their vision, what they want their future to look like. And a lot of times from my experience with working with entrepreneurs and business owners and even emerging leaders and just everybody wanting to level up their finances, I have found that they don't tie that to stewardship. They don't tie that to putting Jesus and God first. And we can cover that here in a little bit, but that was one of the things when you were sharing your story, how beautifully that has played into God working through you, taking you from ministry into the financial realm, the financial industry, and the byproduct of helping more people get to where they want to go in their financial goals. Well, that helps you get to where you want to go. And that's the byproduct of helping those people. So I love that because I'm also in the financial services as well, because I didn't understand this for the longest time because I always thought it was about me. And it was a recipe for disaster. Once I picked my head up and realized it was about helping other people hit their goals. And in your case, it's hitting those financial goals. And in my case, it may be X, or our listeners and viewers and audience listening to this today, it may be this. And whatever this is, if you can help your customer get to that safe place, like we're in the insurance industry. So our job for customers is to help them get a peace of mind when it comes to insurance. So the more people we help have a peace of mind, the byproduct of that is the more customers that we can help in our market and community. But along the way, we experience challenges, we experience obstacles and trials and tribulations, and it's all been rainbows and sunshines for you, right?
No, that's right. Yeah, no struggles whatsoever. No, and to piggyback off of that, that's exactly right. Which is that if in my mind, it was always spiritual things are of utmost importance, but honestly, financial things are probably of maybe second most importance for the average person.
Yep.
And you could say relationship, but a lot of times those two things are almost so intermingled that it's hard to pull one out from the other. And
that's right.
Number one leading cause of divorce is financial issues. And so when you start to see the ministry opportunity in helping people get their financial situation under control, there's a lot of people who it clouds their spiritual judgment, it clouds their relationship judgment, it clouds so many things. And so to be able to help bring clarity, I mean, again, peace of mind is kind of it's kind of the underlying thing that we try to barter in here, which is like, hey, let us help you have peace of mind about the plan and direction of what you're doing. And when people can have that, it releases them to then be a better version of themselves for their family, a better version of themselves in their business, a better friend. Because when that financial pressure, and probably all of us have felt that, I mean, I know I have felt that, when that is bearing down on you all the time, you're not a good version of yourself. And so through simple things like budgeting or through a plan, that can bring you to such a better place. And so, so just to say all that, yes, there's been struggles and difficulties in my journey as well, like there has been for anybody, right? And it hasn't been, I mean, growing a business is not linear, at least not for me. I don't know if it is for others, but it's more of peaks and valleys, right? You hope that you're trending in an upward direction, but it's ups and downs. And so you have really great moments of success that maybe sometimes are instantly followed by moments of failure, right? Maybe there's a season of success or a season of failure. And so I think for me, a lot of it's just trying to kind of keep your eyes focused on the goal. I pray in my personal prayer time every day for God to bless me and help me to bless others. That's kind of what I want, right? I don't want to just this be a transactional thing where they pay me and I provide a service. I want it to be a mutual blessing for everybody. But again, I mean, blessings don't come in a steady supply either. There's, it's like sometimes you go through seasons of nothing or of quiet, and then sometimes you go through abundance. And so it's just trying to remain focused on what's important, remain focused on the purpose and the mission, continue to just control the things you can control, right? Do the work you can do, and then just trust that the end result will come one way or the other.
When I first got into the insurance industry, I was making $25,000 a year. And I remember going to Burlington here locally in Conroe, and I would walk in there and I had a budget of $50 for business shoes because we had to wear business attires. I remember getting those shoes and I remember sweating bullets going up to the counter and swiping my card because I remember that I was going to swipe that $50 and I was only making 25 grand a year. And that was before taxes. And once I swiped that car, I remember feeling that money getting taken from my account.
Yeah.
It was in that moment where I realized that over the next 6 to 12 months, I was like, I'm sick and tired of feeling like this. And I've been a student of the game ever since, because I realized that I had the scarcity mindset. I was so attached to the money, Conner. I was so like $50, $100, $25, whatever it was. When it was pulling out of my account, I felt that. And because where focus goes, energy flows, that's what I was focused on. I had the scarcity mindset. So I had to work on these habits. I had to work on these, what I call bad habits. I had to become, who did I need to become so I didn't have to have that stress in my life as a business owner and emerging leader? I had to look at life as an abundance mindset. There's plenty money to come. And once I started transitioning and transitioning my mindset to, there's an abundance mindset or the abundance of money that's going to fluctuate. Well, how do you get more money? What's the byproduct of that? It's by helping more people. So once I started focusing not on the $50 that it cost for my shoes, and I started focusing on how could I serve more people. And that's where I put my energy, my time, my focus, whether it was marketing, advertising, employees, whatever it may be. I didn't have time to worry about the $50 that were coming out of my account. Now, if you knew me then, and even for listeners and audience that know me over the years, I was the guy wearing holes in my shoes. But my focus went to providing that value to the people. And guess what came over time? It finally, because I was able to level that up and provide value to the marketplace, the byproduct of that was the money. So to our listeners and audience and viewers, I would just encourage, if you have, a scarcity mindset like I did, then to start focusing and transitioning on that abundance mindset, which will allow you to provide more value to the marketplace. Now, Conner, when you sit down with a business owner, emerging leader, or even a family, I'm curious, man, how do you help them get clear on what they really want? Not just financially, but in life. And I'm sure that runs congruent.
Yeah, definitely. And just to even piggyback off what you just had said, there are people that have millions of dollars that still have scarcity mindset. And that's kind of the saddest one when you sit down with somebody who's got millions of dollars, but they're afraid to spend it or they don't know what to do with it. And so they've spent their whole life accumulating this, but they still are holding on to that fear of like, what if it all goes away?
Yes.
And versus people who, and I'm, don't be flippant with your spending or anything like that, but people who have that mentality of blessing others or giving, or, it's such a more fulfilling life. Money truly does not make a difference in the state of your happiness. There is a level of fear when you have no money, but when you've got a plan and discipline, it makes such a huge difference. So sorry, to circle back to your question, it was how do you help? Sorry, ask it one more time, because I went on.
No worries. Yeah, when we're sitting down, we're talking because we're on a podcast today. So if you're sitting with a business owner, you're sitting with a family member or even emerging leader, how do you help them get clear on what they really want, not just financially, but also in life, that, because they both run hand in hand in alignment?
Yeah, for sure. So sometimes that's difficult because I can have what I think the goals should be for a client. And so, we use from kind of a start with the end in mind. What are your goals? Where do you want to end up? And then we try to look at where are we today? And then we say, how do we get from point A to point B? And that's kind of where we come in, is in the journey. But for people, it's like a lot of times you ask somebody, what are your goals? And they don't have an answer. They don't know. It's like, what? And so one thing we'll say is like, what are you retiring to? Not what are you retiring from, right? What is your life going to be when you're done? Not, I want to escape this job because I hate working. That's not a great goal, right? It's like, who's the person that you want to be? What's the life that you want to have? And most people spend almost no time thinking about that. And so that's what, sometimes it's a journey with the client to say right away, they may not really have an answer. And so a lot of times what we'll do is we'll just put in like fake stuff at first. Hey, you want our bills are this much, so we at least need this much to live. Yeah. I'm going to add in, $10,000 a year for travel into your plan, because who doesn't want to travel? I mean, but it's like, you tell me what you want, but you don't know yet because you haven't thought about it. And so a lot of times where we leave things with people is, your homework is you and your wife need to sit down and have dinner sometime in the next month, and then we'll circle back up and y'all need to discuss what is life, what are we even doing all this for, right? What are our goals? Is your goal to grow this business and sell it for $5 million? And then what do you do? Or is your goal, some people want to work until they croak, like they love work. Even if they, hey, they're a builder And if they quit doing that, then they would become a farmer, or yeah, exactly right.
Speaking my language, Conner.
Yeah, hey, I'm selling insurance, but if I ever quit doing that, I'm gonna go be a car salesman or something. I don't know. It's like people just love the grind, they love the work.
Yeah,
It's like a shark. If they stop swimming forward, they would die. They got to keep moving.
Yep.
And maybe that's your goal, and that's great. Some people want to, they want to pop on the couch and watch Fox News, and I usually say, hey, that's a really good way to like ruin the rest of your life, is just to sit on the couch and do nothing. And so what does that look like? How are you going to fill that 40 plus hours a week with? Family is the answer for a lot of people, right? You want to chase grandkids around one day, and so how do we make sure that you can do that? For a lot of people, it's a moving target, though, at the end of the day, right? Some people have really clear goals. A lot of people don't. And so for a lot of people, it's kind of like, here's where we think we're going to go. And that's where the ongoing process of what we do with people is good, where it's not a one-time deal that we set in stone and then say, see you in 30 years, and we'll see if we succeeded or not. But we're always following up. We're always checking, because, maybe the lifestyle and the dreams that you have today. I mean, Sean, you shared your story. 5 years ago, your lifestyle and dreams would have been different than they are today. 100%. So your goals have probably changed, and you've changed. And so a lot of what we try to do is just get the conversation started. A lot of times it's funny. You sit a husband and wife down together and you ask them what their goals are. It's not going to be the same answer, right? It's not going to be the same answer. I mean, a lot of times for men, we're dollars and cents. I need this much money to live this. Women are more about, well, I want to be able to pay for my grandkids' college, or it's like it's very much about family or people. In fact, I remember I have one client. They were sitting here, and the wife didn't want to be here, doesn't want to think about it, doesn't want to know about it. They've got plenty. They're well off. He's very analytical, and we talked about having a family meeting with their children, to bring their children in to discuss, like, hey, here's what the family's working with. Her eyes, I mean, that was she lit up and she got on it. And that was the only time working with them that she has been like, yes, answering emails, answering calls, ready to go. Because what she cared about was making sure her kids were taken care of. That's what she cared about.
Yeah.
She didn't care about how many dollars they had or anything else. She wanted to make sure that the kids were taken care of, that they knew the plan, that they were in the loop, that there was no anxiety from them. And so, it definitely a moving target, definitely not one size fits all. And like I said, for most people, they don't think about it. So my encouragement to anybody listening to this would be, make a goal, make a plan, come up with something. If you're building a business, what's the purpose of it, right? It's like we're all in the wheel trying to spin like a gerbil, but we don't have a goal in mind for why we're doing it, other than, I guess, to pay next month's rent or something. But think bigger than that. Try to make a plan.
Man, what I love about what you're sharing, Conner, is I resonate so much with it, and it's so needed for 99.9% of the population. And even myself, I'm just, for selfish reasons, I'm like, man, to have somebody like you in the corner in somebody's life to consistently create a rhythm and a system and process to follow up with that individual and evolve with them, asking them questions. And that's what I'm hearing you say, is that you're slowing them down because they're going a million miles an hour doing these things over here. If you're a business owner, a mom, a dad, taking care of the kids, taking care of work, your job, your business, the last thing that they're typically focused on is, where am I going to be in 10 years, 15, 20 years, like you're saying. And I love that you slow that down with your clients to help him, get that GPS. Where are we going here? And what's the goal? What's the outcome? What's it look like? And getting super clear. And then I also loved what you said about the mom coming in there, because our motives, our agendas are different than our spouses. I just want my kids to be taken care of. Well, what does that actually look like? What does that mean to you? And having them break it down, because what I'm hearing you say, Conner, is that you're tying that emotion to that mom, because now she's leaving the meeting with you because you asked a good quality question, and she's going out sticking to the game plan. And that's your job, right? Is you want them to stick to the game plan for the next year, 3 years, 5 years. Not like, hey, we're going to go on a $10,000 vacation. We need to pull from our retirement account. No. That's not what we're doing here. Remember what you told me 2 years ago, that you were doing this for your daughters? This is that moment for you. Is that, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, that's 100% right. At the end of the day, like with anything else, you have to find what resonates with the person, right? I mean, if you're trying to sell somebody an insurance policy, you've got to get them to understand the risk that they're at if they don't have it, right? What happens if that, or the other happens? Same as a doctor. They could tell you, hey, you're overweight, but they have to get you to understand the value, the importance of that for you to actually make change. And so for us, it's about trying to ask questions, trying to find out what's truly important to somebody, because everybody knows I should spend less, I should save more. I mean, yeah, I also
Yep.
know that I shouldn't eat cookies and donuts, but some people still do that, right?
That's
I
right.
mean, we all like, there's no, like, dieting is not some mysterious science. It's like, eat less calories than you spend, eat healthy food. But, that's why
Yeah.
people need personal trainers and stuff like that, because most people won't do it on their own. They
Yeah.
need accountability, they need help. And so for us, it's like, a lot of people know the things they should do, at least at the base level, right?
Yeah.
But they don't do it, or they won't do it, or they haven't done it for a lot of the case for people. And so, where we can come in is to help tie that to something that matters. And that's why goals, I think, are so important. Because when you start to talk about goals with people, people get motivated to reach their goal. If it's
Yeah.
like, hey, you need to save more, hey, you need to spend less, it's like, yeah, sure, whatever. But I also want to do whatever this other thing is that I want to do. But when you have a goal attached to it, it's like, I think about when I was a little kid, I wanted a paintball gun so badly. And so I thumbtacked an envelope or a Ziploc bag to my cork board. And every time I'd make money, I'd put it in there to try to say, because I had that goal of getting something. If I was just saving money to save it, I probably wouldn't have done it, but I wanted that thing. And so that's where goal setting can be a powerful tool for people, where it's like, hey, in retirement, me and my wife, we want to travel the world.
Yeah.
That's going to take money. That's going to be
Yeah.
expensive. And
Yeah.
so I need to, actually, I want to do it with my kids now. So how do we
Yeah.
do that? Right? How do
Yeah.
is that possible? Can we accomplish it? How do we do it? And so that goal setting can help motivate people to action, because what I see for a lot of people is, and a lot of the lack of urgency or the lack of action is, well, I haven't done it for the last 5 years and life has been okay. Like
Yeah.
I mean, maybe life isn't even good, but it's like, hey, here we are. I made it. And so why am I going to change now? And that's where I think we can show, well, what's the life you want to have? What are the goals you want to reach? How can we do that in the best way possible? And when you tie it to goals, people are maybe actually just motivated to do something.
Why do you? So I'm curious. I want to stay on that for a second. Why do you think it's so hard for high achievers, business owners, emerging leaders to really do what we're talking about? Pause, reflect, slow down, come up with a game plan. And how would you help them bridge that gap? Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, definitely. This is probably one of the biggest frustrations in my job, my work, is that there are people that I know that I can help, that I want to help. And I mean, obviously to grow my business, but also because it would be good for them. It would help them.
Yeah.
But getting them to take time to see the value in something that they haven't valued before is a challenge, especially when, I think, for so many high achievers, there's so many things that are vying for your attention at all times, right? There are so many, I mean, your business, like, how much time does that take? How much mental power does that take? Your family. And usually by the time you kind of get past like those two things, like business and family, there's not a lot of time, like maybe friends, maybe hobby, maybe a little bit. There's not a lot of time for other things. And so a lot of times it's like that initial inertia of getting started.
Yeah.
It's a challenge to find the way to motivate people that it's important. Maybe similar to like a diet plan, probably getting started can be the hardest part sometimes. Once you kind of get rolling, then it's like, this is another thing I'm doing. But when it's not, and so, that's where I think the relationships piece comes into play, where it's like, definitely you can find clients, and I search for clients that I don't have relationship with. But when you have relationship with somebody, a lot of times it's not the first day you meet them. It takes a while for them to, first off, get to know and trust you, but then also for them to decide. They probably decided 6 months ago that they need to do something, but it takes them that extra 6 months to pick up the phone and make a phone call about it. And it's just part of the business, right? And so, but yeah, I think it's just, there's so many things vying for attention. There's so many easy ways to make excuses for things. There's so many other things you could say, oh, I'll do that next week, or I'll do that next month, or what I think for me, the one that hurts my heart is when I meet with clients, or meet with prospective clients. We start to lay some of this plan out, and then they kind of ghost because they get caught up in everything else, right? And it's like, man, this is important. We talked about it. You bought into the vision, you bought into the goals. But then you kind of slide back and let the other things come back and take control. And so that for me is the one where I hate to see that for people, because it's like, no, this is like, we should be doing this. This is important. And so that's part of the challenge. I think part of the reason why there's a lot of talk in our industry about the role of AI and how important will we be 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now. I think there'll always be a role for some version of what I'm doing, because at the end of the day, people need that person in their life to be a motivating factor, I think, to help them do what they know they should be doing on their own. I see a lot of corollaries between personal trainer and financial advisor, where it's like, I could go to the gym and lose weight and work out, but sometimes hiring some or having somebody that holds me accountable to that can be really important. And
Yeah.
same way, go ahead.
Yeah, you bring that human connection, that you're meeting them where they are, and you're making it relatable, that connection, that accountability, and doing these things and almost holding their hands through the process until they create that foundation, that rhythm, those habits, and picking their, because at the end of the day, it's like you said, reference the gym. People want to see results. They want to see progress. And I think that's what's important. Anything that we do, whether it's any industry, it's if we hire a service or we have a product, it's like, where do I see this fitting into my life? And is it going to benefit me? Is it going to help me? Is it going to progress me? And tying that to an emotion and having somebody that's going to be in your corner that can be with you in the ups and the downs, like a trainer, like a financial advisor, like an insurance agent. We tell our customers that all the time. It's like when you go through a claim, not if, but when, because a claim will happen one in 12 years, a house, a car, something will happen. Who are you going to call? Do you want to call a 100 number? Do you want to talk to your AI robot? Or do you want to talk to an actual human being that's going to show that empathy and care for you? So I agree with you on that, man. Now I want to transition a little bit. You're a husband, father of 3, and active in your church currently. And I'm curious, and I know a lot of our emerging leaders and business owners, man, because they struggle with this. How do you balance it all while staying present in both your family and professional life?
Man, that's a tough one. Yeah, if anybody has perfectly figured that out, let me know. I think the biggest thing I would say is just trying to be present when I'm there. I mean, there's so many things like, for us, the phone, the emails, the alerts are always going. And that's one thing I've really been working on, is trying to not be if I'm at home, trying to not have the phone glued to my hip, or not, look at all that kind of stuff. I think with the family, I mean, our kids are at the ages where there's so many activities. I mean, a lot of what we're doing is just following it's like we're their chauffeurs, taking them from thing to thing to thing. Yep. But I hope that one thing is that in the business owner mentality schedule, making sure that you're prioritizing your family, because most of us can control our schedules to some extent, and we can be in control of what we do. And so sometimes, even if it's not the best for business, trying to put family first with some of that, hey, maybe I could work longer, and maybe that would help me grow my revenue by X dollars or whatever. But maybe going to my daughter's volleyball game is more important than that. So, she plays volleyball, and it requires a couple days a week for me to shut down shop early and go, leave before business hours are technically closed. Yep. And it's for a season, it's for a period of time, and you can do that work other times, or you can make sure you're filling in the gap other ways. It's not an excuse not to work, but it is a prioritization thing, where it's like just really, really important to make sure to try to take time to prioritize family, because like there's always going to be more to do, right? I mean, there's never a point where you do it all and you go, okay, well, I guess I'm done. I guess I'll go home now. There's always another call you could make, or another, email, or another report, or another, whatever your industry is, go stand on the street corner and flip a sign or whatever, like the real estate people do. There's always something else you could do. Yeah. And so just trying to find a healthy balance of when is it time to put it down and just say enough's enough for today, and go be present with the family. The church thing is a hard one. I mean, I was on staff at the church, and I was the one who was probably kind of quietly judging everybody who wasn't at every single activity all the time. And now we're the family that's not at every single activity all the time, because there's so many other things going on. And
that's right.
We're still active at the church that I worked at, which is kind of an interesting dynamic, because it's just, I don't know, you have to kind of separate who you used to be from who you are, or else you end up getting put in charge of everything. And I don't want to do that. But trying to pick and choose the things to be involved with that, like my daughter's in the youth ministry and student ministry at the church. And so being a little bit a part of that, to get to do some things with her. I always loved to teach Bible class. And so done a very little bit of that, but, being involved in some of that stuff. But again, a lot of it, especially at first, it was me pulling back saying, hey, I'm drawing a hard boundary here to say I got to create some separation. And now we're at a point where I'm kind of reintroducing into some of that stuff, because I do enjoy and love it still. But yeah, I mean, the balance is tough. I won't lie and say that we're batting 1,000 on that. But I would say at some point, just putting the work down for the day, and it'll be there for you tomorrow. Maybe some advice for somebody.
Well, you're doing the best that you can, right? And you're plugging yourself into the Level Up Mastermind group. You're being held to higher standards at accountability, and giving people that are like-minded individuals permission to hold you accountable. Because at the end of the day, I've learned this in business, and I'm sure you know business owners, and you probably see it with your clientele. That I've learned with business owners over time is they can be a multi-million-dollar company, get to $10 million, and that's their only goal. That's their North Star. But then they pick their head up in 3 years, and the kids don't like them. They're getting, they're on their second divorce. They're 50 pounds overweight. Well, but I have money in the bank. It's a miserable road, and I've been down that road, and I don't recommend it to anybody. There's another way to go about it. It's designing a life that you don't go to regret, and that's by an alignment. That's by, I don't believe in balance. I believe in alignment. I believe in time management. I believe in time blocking, because we all have the same amount of time during the day. I believe in presence. When you shut down the office, you're going to the volleyball, and you're going to be there. You're going to be there to support your daughter, and you're not going to be on your phone sending emails, right? Because then that's out of line with balance. There are going to be sacrifices in different seasons of life as you go to build. But as long as you communicate that and you're aware of that and you correct course when need be to fill that tank up, then that's designing a life that you don't grow to regret. And that's what I'm all about. So being a student in the game, it's a beautiful journey. And Conner, man, I really appreciate you. I just want to acknowledge you real quick. I appreciate you for opening up, being authentic, sharing your conviction today. Because I know a lot of our emerging leaders and business owners are going through the same thing. We're all going through just being a child of God, and glory goes to God. And the things and who we're trying to become that 10.0 version of ourselves, we're never going to be perfect, but it's the journey. It's enjoying that process along the way. And what I've learned about you as well is it's not just about the grind or the numbers, but it's like what we just talked about. It's about finding that alignment in the things that we're doing. You being an outdoorsman, you being a man of faith, you in your business, and aligning that with who you're wanting to become for business and in life. And that creates that purpose, that clarity, and ultimately the peace of mind, what we're all striving towards. So I appreciate you, man.
Yeah, thanks, Sean.
Yeah. How can our Level Up and Live community, you've been nothing but valuable today. How can we support you at Level Up and Live?
I think for me, the biggest thing is I'm just trying to get to know more people in the community. So I had a couple guys I've had a chance to grab a cup of coffee with. Got a couple more that I'm trying to reach out to, just for the purpose of getting. At first, it was actually, hey, tell me about Level Up and Live and why you liked it, right? What value do you find in it? Because I was kind of trying to vet the group myself. I told Sean, but I was a little skeptical at first coming in, maybe from the outside looking in. But now it's just like, I don't want it to be something where we show up on Friday as strangers, we talk for a little bit and we leave. I'd like it to become people that I know and am sharing a community with. So reach out, talk to me at the mastermind, or let's grab a cup of coffee or something, because I'd love to get to know people. I love to hear people's stories. Love to hear how they started their business, why they're doing what they're doing. That inspires me. So.
There you have it, folks. Reach out to Conner. He's looking to connect, do some coffee, do some lunch. We'll have his contact and link in the show notes. Outside of that, if something from today's episode hit home with you from Conner's story, please don't ignore it. We want you to take action. Take one thing Conner shared today and apply it this week. Whether that's slowing down to define your goals, your financial goals, having that conversation about legacy and where you're headed in the next 3, 5, 10 years, or just recentering your vision for the future. We'll also, again, have the links in the show notes so you can follow and connect with Conner. And if this episode helped you, share it, leave a review, subscribe, so more business owners and leaders can join the movement. Until next time, stay on mission, lead with clarity, and keep leveling up without losing yourself. Thanks again, Conner.